Hey, Violet, about dinner next weekend. There's something I want to check with you.
Oh, you mean the dinner with your friends, right? What do you want to check?
Yeah, about that. My friends are mostly elites. They all went to well-known universities. So, there's something I'd like you to be mindful of.
Something to be mindful of? Now I'm worried I might say something weird. I'll be careful, but what exactly are you referring to?
No, it's nothing too difficult. But they usually talk about work or politics. So I thought it might be better to avoid casual topics, everyday stuff.
Huh? What do you mean by everyday stuff? I can talk normally, right?
Of course, you can talk normally, but maybe try not to bring up family stuff or my parents' jobs too much. How can I put this? The conversation might feel a little different in terms of level.
Do I really need to be that cautious? Aren't these close friends of yours? They all seemed like nice people.
Yeah, they're nice, but my friends work at top companies, and some have even started their own businesses. So I really don't want to leave a bad impression in front of them, especially when it comes to family stuff. I don't want them to think we're ordinary.
Wait, ordinary? We come from a normal family, right? Is that a bad thing?
No, it's not bad, but my friends really care about status. So I just think it'll be better to keep family stuff a bit vague.
I don't know. That kind of thing bothers me a little. Is it really necessary to be that cautious just because we're from a normal family?
Violet, don't get me wrong. I just don't want to embarrass myself in front of everyone. I want them to think we come from a respectable background. And they do notice that kind of stuff.
But does it really matter what kind of background we came from? They're your friends, so I don't think you need to try so hard to impress them.
No, it's because they're my friends that I care even more. Especially in my position. I don't want to be looked down on, so I'd appreciate it if you could be mindful too.
I feel a little uncomfortable with this, but I'll be careful.
Thanks. That's a big help. I'm sure it'll be fine, but if anything happens, I'll back you up. I've wrapped up my work for the day. I just got home now. How about you, Violet? Are you working overtime or...
Gabriel, you must be tired from work too. I'm not working overtime. I just finished eating and I'm about to take a shower.
About tomorrow? Is 11:30 at the station okay?
Yeah, my parents' house is close to the station. That time works just fine.
I'm so nervous.
It's okay. My parents are kind, and you can just be yourself, Gabriel.
Introducing myself for marriage is a big moment, Plus, it's not just any introduction. It's the first step to being accepted as a life partner. That's why I'm so nervous. I know it myself. It's completely different from usual. You only get one chance at this, and there's so much pressure not to mess it up.
Well, I kind of understand how you feel. When I went to your place the other day and met your parents, I was super nervous too. At the moment I introduced myself, my heart was pounding and my hands got sweaty.
Right? That moment really gets to you mentally. I was so nervous that I almost couldn't understand what I was saying. Plus, I think guys get even more nervous. I mean, we're the ones asking for their daughter's hand, right? There's a lot of weight in those words.
What? What makes guys feel more anxious? I was just as nervous meeting your parents, so I think it's about the same for both of us.
But worst case scenario, he could say something like, "You can't have my daughter." What would I even do if your dad said that? Game over, right?
No way. He would never say that, don't worry. My dad's not old-fashioned like that. And I'm sure he already likes you, so there's nothing to worry about.
Well, you never know, right? Marriage is a pretty big deal for parents, and their feelings could change. Plus, from what you've told me, it seems like your dad is kind of soft on you. So maybe he'll think, "I don't want to give away the daughter I've raised so lovingly."
That won't happen. My parents are just kind. If there's ever a problem, they'll tell me. And I'm sure they trust you, Gabriel, so it'll be fine. So don't stress out too much, okay? Tomorrow's a big day, so just make sure you don't oversleep and come in refreshed.
I wonder if I can even sleep.
I'm telling you, it's going to be fine, so trust me.
All right. After I eat and take a shower, I'll get to bed early tonight.
Okay, then I'll message you when I wake up tomorrow.
Yeah, sounds good. Support me tomorrow, all right?
Today, I ended up getting nervous too. It's funny because they're my parents. But really, thank you so much. I'm so full of gratitude for you, Gabriel. My dad and mom both said you're a wonderful person.
Is that so? Well, I'm glad to hear that.
But you seemed a bit off halfway through, right? You kept going to the bathroom a lot. Were you maybe nervous and had an upset stomach?
Well, I wasn't feeling too well.
Oh no, are you okay?
I'm fine now. Hey, I want to seriously talk about the wedding. We'll have to start planning soon, so I'd like to go over some things now.
Huh? What? Did you already find a venue or something? If so, that's amazing. Actually, I've been thinking about a place too, and I wanted to talk to you about it. I thought you might be interested too.
No, that's not what I mean. Actually, this is kind of hard to say, but I'm thinking maybe it's better if we don't invite your parents to the wedding.
Huh? What are you talking about? I don't understand at all. Did something happen?
No, it's not that. I just think it'd be better for your parents too. I don't want them to feel uncomfortable.
For my parents? What does that even mean? Why can't my parents come? I really can't accept this.
It's not that they can't come. It's just, my parents, they really care about things like education. They're fine with you, but when I think about your parents' education, I'm worried about how mine will react. You understand, right? I went to a prestigious university, and that's what's expected from my family. My grandfather's the chairman of the company, and there's this sense of pride in our family. Everyone sees us as elites, and they don't want to break that image.
But they knew I came from a regular family, and they still gave us their blessing to get married, right? So why are you bringing this up now? If education was such a big deal, they could have looked into it and stopped us from the start. Why bring this up at the last minute?
I think they accepted us because you graduated from a prestigious university and got a job at a big company. That's why they didn't oppose it. But when it comes to your parents' education, I'm not sure how they'll react.
Even if you say that, my parents are really important to me. I can't imagine not inviting them to our wedding for such a reason.
But the truth is, both your dad and mom didn't graduate from college, right? Honestly, I was surprised too. I didn't expect them not to have a college degree. And when I heard they work in a factory, I wasn't sure how to handle it.
What are you saying? Are you looking down on my parents too, Gabriel? If that's what you think, I'm really disappointed.
No, that's not it. It's just that in my family, everyone's a college graduate. At the wedding, I'm sure my parents and relatives will talk to your parents. And I'm worried your parents might feel uncomfortable. My family has this bad habit of looking down on others.
I don't think my parents would even care about that. Besides, isn't it your job to stand up for them?
I'll support them as much as I can, but I'm afraid they'll feel out of place.
I won't let that happen.
As the bride, you've got so much to prepare. And on the day of the wedding, you'll be so busy that you won't be able to look after every little detail. You can't be by their side all the time to support them, and that's why I'm even more worried. Plus, this is our wedding. It should go perfectly, right? If something goes wrong or the atmosphere gets tense, it could ruin what's supposed to be a special day. You don't want that, do you? I'm worried that if something goes wrong on the one day of our lives that's supposed to be perfect, we'll end up regretting it every time we think back on it.
I really don't understand what you're saying, Gabriel. Why are you saying such terrible things about my parents? How can you say something so cruel so casually? They're my family, and to hear you talk about them like this, it's honestly shocking.
That's not what I think. It's my parents and relatives who think that way. I didn't want to say this either, but I couldn't ignore their concerns, so I had to tell you. I mean, who wants to admit that their parents are obsessed with education? I hated bringing this up, but I thought you needed to know.
But why does that mean my parents can't come to the wedding? I can't accept this at all. If you think it's wrong to be so focused on education, then why aren't you trying to convince your parents otherwise? If that's really how you feel, you should be talking to them and making them understand.
I've told you before, but changing my parents' minds isn't that easy. That's why I'm telling you now. It's just how things are.
I could never do that. There's no way I could not invite my parents to the wedding.
I'm really sorry. I know what I'm saying is awful, but I just don't know what else to do.
Yeah, you're right. It's awful. So why are you saying it?
I'll talk to my parents again. I'll make sure they don't say anything rude when they meet your parents.
But do we really have to go that far? Aren't you just overthinking this, Gabriel?
No, I'm sure it's better to tell them beforehand. If we do that, they might better understand our situation and hold back.
Hold back? Hold back from what? Is it really that bad that they didn't graduate from college? I don't think so.
There are still people who look at it with prejudice. I think that kind of thinking is terrible too, but there are people who see things differently, and we can't avoid that.
But saying that my parents shouldn't come to the wedding is just wrong.
I'm sorry. Let's put this conversation aside for now. I'll figure something out, so don't worry.
How did it even come to this?
I said I'm really sorry. I should have told you about my parents from the start.
Enough, Gabriel. I'm definitely inviting my parents to the wedding. If I can't do that, then there's no point. If anyone says something rude to my parents at the wedding, I won't stay silent. Remember that. Hey, I need to ask you something. I just can't let it go.
Huh? What's up?
Are you hiding something from me?
Not really.
Did you talk to my parents?
Why? Did something happen?
Out of nowhere, they said they were not coming to the wedding.
Why?
I should be asking you that. Did you bring up the education thing with my parents?
I would never do that. That would be way too rude.
Then what about your parents? Did they talk to mine? Did they contact them without telling us?
I don't think so. When I told them about your parents, they were like, well, since Violet has a good education, it's fine. And they said that after we're married, my parents won't have much to do with yours anyway. They did ask me not to mention to their relatives that your parents didn't graduate from college, though.
Then why?
Did they not say why they weren't coming to the wedding?
They said your family is too impressive, and they feel embarrassed to attend.
Violet, did you tell them what I said? About my parents being focused on education?
Of course not.
Yeah, I didn't think so. Then maybe your parents felt some kind of pressure on their own. Once they learned about my family, it probably made them feel that way. Think about it. When they see my family's background and status, wouldn't they feel a little out of place?
What? What do you mean by that? Are you insulting my parents?
No, I'm not insulting them. It's just... not to brag, but my grandfather's company is pretty big, and it has a certain scale. Most people would feel that way. My uncle is the current president, but eventually, my dad will take over. And one day, I'll probably end up in that position too. So if you marry me, you'll eventually be the president's wife. With that kind of status, people will be watching. And we need to have a certain level of standing.
My parents don't care about that at all. They're not the kind of people who look down on others or change their attitude based on someone's job or education. They take pride in having lived their lives through their own hard work.
Even if your parents think that way, maybe they were just worried about you, Violet. They might have thought you'd feel out of place around my family. And maybe they didn't show it on purpose because of that. I think they might have felt inferior on purpose to avoid embarrassing you. Maybe that's their way of showing love, even if you didn't notice.
I've never felt that way, not even once. My parents are people I respect, and I've never been embarrassed by them.
Yeah, I know. Sorry that came out wrong, but I thought they might feel that way at least a little.
Maybe. If that's the case, I feel really bad for my parents. But if that's really the reason, I'm starting to think maybe we don't even need a wedding.
Don't say that. I want to see you in a wedding dress and have our friends and family see it too. And I want to show everyone that we're starting our lives together.
But what's the point of a wedding if my parents aren't there?
Come on. We still have time before the wedding. We've only set the venue and date, right? We'll keep planning and maybe your parents will change their minds by then.
I don't think so. I'm really worried.
All right. I'll talk to your parents again. Maybe I can convince them and they'll change their minds.
Really? But will that really work?
If your parents still decide not to come to the wedding, then maybe we just have to respect their decision.
What? But...
I mean, forcing them to attend won't make things better for you or your parents, right? It'll just make things awkward for everyone, and that's not good for anyone.
I get it.
Okay, I'll swing by and see them on my next day off.
Yeah, thanks, Gabriel.
No, I'm the one who said something awful because of my parents' focus on education. And I want your parents to come to the wedding too.
I'll let them know you're coming again. I know you're busy with work. I'm really sorry.
It's okay. I just want to do whatever I can to make you happy. Violet, do you have a minute? I've got some great news. I got a call from the wedding venue staff today. Apparently, there was a cancellation on the date we really wanted.
Oh,
What's that reaction? Are you still upset about what happened the other day? Honestly, I think your parents were the ones in the wrong.
why?
Why? I didn't do anything, but your dad told me to get out. I just asked him to come to the wedding, that's all. After being treated like that, I honestly don't want them to come anymore either. Do you think maybe they've got some sort of complex about education or their background?
What are you even talking about?
Anyway, I'm angry too. So don't invite your parents to the wedding.
It's fine because I won't be going either.
What? What do you mean you're not going? It's our wedding. This is an important event, so why are you suddenly saying you won't go?
We're not having the wedding anymore. I've decided I don't want to marry you.
What? You can't just say something like that out of the blue. I don't even know why. It makes no sense. Did I do something?
Do you seriously not get it? I know all the terrible things you've done to me and my family. You tried to hide it, but everything's come out now.
What? What are you talking about?
From the moment you found out my parents didn't graduate from college and that my dad works at a factory, your attitude completely changed. I noticed it. You said your parents were the ones obsessed with education, but really, it was you all along, right? That's why you told my parents not to come to the wedding, because you thought they'd embarrass you.
That's not true. I never said that, and I never meant it that way.
I'm telling you, I know. You told my parents directly not to come to the wedding. Remember that moment when you and my mom exchanged numbers after the intro? I've seen all the messages you sent after that.
What? Your parents showed you those?
No, I looked at them myself. My parents didn't say anything, but I checked. So there it was, throwing around comments like, a high school diploma doesn't mean anything, and stay away if you're working in a factory. You even told them you don't want them involved in our lives after we get married, didn't you? I read everything.
That's not true. My parents told me to say that, so I had no choice.
I even asked your parents directly. They were shocked and said they didn't know anything about it. And they completely denied the whole education-obsessed thing. So it was just you acting on your own, wasn't it? Your parents are at my parents' place to apologize, so why don't you come over too?
What? So my parents are at your house right now?
Yeah. They asked to see the WhatsApp messages, so I showed them. I've already told them that I'm calling off the engagement.
Wait a second. Calling off the engagement? That can't be real. You accepted my proposal because you loved me, right? How did things suddenly end up like this?
Because I didn't know the real you. You were all nice on the surface, but behind the scenes, I had no idea you were treating my parents with such contempt. No one ever suspected you would look down on my family and insult them behind their backs.
Violet, please, just calm down and listen to me. I'm seriously thinking about our future. It's already said that I'll take over my grandfather's company and become the president. That's why, if people find out my wife's family is low class, it could damage the company's reputation.
So that's why you decided to exclude my parents from the wedding? Is that really your thinking? You're willing to cut off my family just to protect your status and image? I can't believe this.
No, I get that's how it sounded. But it's not like I was trying to completely exclude them. I just wanted them to step back a bit in public to avoid any discomfort for either side.
The fact that you can only think about things that way proves I can't stay with you.
Violet, no. That's not what I meant. I really do love you. You're smart, you're incredibly attractive, and I'm proud to be with you wherever we go. Being with you is something I take pride in.
I'm not marrying you so I can be your trophy. And who do you think raised me to be the person I am today? My parents. If it weren't for them, I wouldn't even exist. And yet, you insulted them and said they couldn't even come to our wedding. Of course my dad is furious.
I'm really sorry, Violet. I'll apologize. I'll apologize to both your father and your mother. And I'll make sure they attend the wedding, so please, forgive me.
I can't be with someone who looks down on others because of their education or job. I can't marry you.
Violet, please, just give me another chance. I swear I'll never do something like this again.
If I have to be betrayed by you a second time, it's better to end this now. I'm glad I found out who you really are before we got married. Maybe you're the one who's truly low class. I don't need someone who can't even value their own family in my life.
Don't say that.
It's over between us. I'm not sacrificing my parents for the sake of marrying you. Never come near me or my family again. If you do, I'm prepared to take legal action, so keep that in mind.
This can't be happening. You don't have to go that far. I didn't mean for things to end up like this. Please understand. Violet.
After the engagement was called off, Gabriel went around telling his friends things like, I dumped Violet, and I canceled the wedding because her parents are just commoners, and it was embarrassing. But one of our mutual friends reached out to me and told me everything he had been saying. I even showed them the WhatsApp messages and proof of Gabriel's comments about looking down on my parents. As a result, his friends distanced themselves from him, and he completely lost their trust. Gabriel had always been the kind of guy who cared about appearances and wanted to be seen in a good light. So I guess his friends finally saw his true colors. As for work, he used to brag about working for his grandfather's company. But in reality, he was terrible at his job. It eventually became clear to his boss and colleagues, and his reputation at the company plummeted. His boss wasn't even mad, just disappointed, saying they couldn't expect anything more from him. The idea of him becoming president of that company someday? A total pipe dream. Now that he's lost his place, Gabriel doesn't even leave the house anymore. He's practically shut in, living a lonely life with no one left to talk to. Honestly, whatever happens to him now isn't my concern anymore. I just hope he pulls himself together and starts working properly again. As for me, I took a family trip with my parents using the settlement money I received from Gabriel. I felt really bad for putting them through all this. But both of them were genuinely happy, saying, "It's a good thing you didn't marry him." Next time, if I do get married, I wanted to be with someone who truly values both me and my family.